The ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah is now in its third day and appears to be holding by and large, despite new accusations against both sides. Israel says it thwarted what it called terrorist activity and struck a rocket storage site used by Hezbollah on Thursday. Well, meanwhile, the Lebanese army claims Israel has breached the terms of the ceasefire numerous times since it went into effect on Wednesday morning. Here's the Israeli Foreign Minister.
What will happen in the ground is the most important thing, and we will not allow to breach the arrangement. We will respond immediately to every violation. We will not let the Hezbollah to go southern than the Litani River. We will not let Hezbollah to rearm again and build itself as a danger to Israel once again.
Well, the people of Lebanon, meanwhile, are desperate for a return to normalcy. Well, thousands displaced by the 13 months of fighting have started returning to their homes and businesses, many of them destroyed, even as Israel warns that some areas are not safe yet.
Thank God, now we're back, and we're back stronger and better than before. We have strength and determination, and we're cleaning up our stores. We will work on getting our businesses back better than before. And don't let the occupation think that it has defeated us.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is sounding more optimistic about a ceasefire in Gaza, but he insists on achieving one of his major goals. Here's what he told Israel's Channel 14.
I'm ready for a ceasefire at any moment, but ending the war, I'm not ready for that, because we also need to achieve the elimination of Hamas.
Meanwhile, Israel's attacks continue. Gaza's health ministry says Israeli bombs killed at least 20 people on Thursday. Several homes in Nusrat were hit, sending dozens of victims to Al-Awar hospital with injuries. The hospital director claims Israeli forces are blocking delivery of medical supplies, food and fuel to the hospital. Well, CNN has reached out to the IDF for comment. Well, let's go live now to Abu Dhabi and CNN's Paula Hancock, who's standing by. Paula, let's start with the situation in Lebanon. It's a tenuous truce, but it seems to be holding. Is there growing confidence this could be long-lasting?
Well, Anna, I don't think there's growing confidence yet. There is certainly cautious optimism when it comes to those in Lebanon that this could last. But of course, there are some in Israel that still don't agree with the fact this ceasefire was carried out in the first place. What we're hearing, though, is that it is an uneasy truce, that it is holding for the most part. There have been a couple of occasions where both sides have accused the other of breaching the terms of this ceasefire. You mentioned them briefly, the fact that Israel carried out an airstrike on what it said was Hezbollah terrorists, and they say that was in an area where Hezbollah had stored some of its medium-range rockets. And there was a separate incident as well where Israel says that it did target what it called suspects in southern Lebanon. Now, for its part, the Lebanese army, which is going to take control as per this ceasefire in southern Lebanon and patrol this area to make sure Hezbollah cannot regroup and rearm. They have said that Israel on a number of occasions have breached the terms of the ceasefire. So it is going to last 60 days. This is how long this ceasefire system will last until, as many hope, it will be the basis of a permanent ceasefire. We have heard it be made very clear on a number of occasions by Israeli officials that they won't be pulling out the Israeli military immediately. And they are saying to residents of much of southern Lebanon, in fact, more than 70 villages and towns do not return home at this point. It is not safe, and we will tell you when it is safe, because they still have the Israeli military stationed in this area. And we heard from the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, in that Channel 14 interview. He said, if this framework, this ceasefire is violated, it will lead to an intense war. So Israel is being very clear that if it perceives a violation of this ceasefire, then they will act forcefully. Anna?
Paula, there's obviously hope that the Lebanon ceasefire is perhaps a precursor for Gaza. We obviously heard those comments earlier from the Israeli Prime Minister, but we know this is a very different situation.
And that's what Netanyahu said, Anna. He said that there were two very different directives and objectives when it came to these two wars. In Lebanon, the Israeli military and the government said that they wanted to be able to move tens of thousands of residents back to the border and make it safe for them. In Gaza, they have been very clear, the Prime Minister saying he wants to eliminate Hamas. So what he's saying is he's very happy to have a ceasefire at this point, and he believes that the killing of the former chief, Yahya Sinwar, will make that easier, something that Washington has backed up. But he's not ready for the end of the war. Now, of course, what that does is it makes it very difficult for those who are going to be mediating and negotiating to try and convince Hamas to sign on to a deal where the war is not going to be ended. We've heard from Hamas itself saying that they want a permanent ceasefire and the complete withdrawal of IDF troops from Gaza. Everything we're hearing from the Israeli side suggests that that is not what Netanyahu is looking at this point. Anna?
Paula Hancock's in Abu Dhabi. Good to see you. Appreciate the report. Thank you. Well, Salah El Maknouk is a non-resident fellow at the Middle East Institute. He joins us now from Beirut. Salah, thank you for joining us. I want to start with how people are feeling returning to their homes in Lebanon, to these devastated neighbourhoods. There's obviously a mixture of emotions. What have you been witnessing where you are in Beirut?
Good morning, Anna. Thank you for having me. So for about 48 hours, self-evidently, there was a feeling of relief. The solid majority of Lebanese want this war to end, but not only for it to end, but for this to be the last war where Lebanon is used as proxy territory for regional battles. However, beginning yesterday, I would say the mood of cautious optimism has begun to be restrained, if not to, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it is now behind us. This increasingly feels like a pause in fighting. This increasingly feels like this agreement is unsustainable. All signs do point out to the intention predominantly of Hezbollah of circumventing this agreement. We've seen a number of statements by Hezbollah officials undermining the army, limiting the ability of UNIFIL to carry out its job. And therefore, it increasingly feels like this is an opportunity not to end the war, but to rearm, re-equip, and live to fight another day, unfortunately.
I would like to talk more about why you feel this truce is unsustainable, because obviously we saw Israel strike Hezbollah militants, but there didn't seem to be an indication or a desire that either side wants to return to all-out war. That's not how you're reading the situation.
Anna, we've seen this movie before. This is a repeat of 2006 on steroids. What happened in 2006 is after an initial early acquiescence of Hezbollah to the terms of the agreement, we saw attack on UNIFIL peacekeepers. We saw an overtaking of the Lebanese government in 2008. And since then, there was a gradual process of rearming and re-equipping, which led us to the current war. So what I've seen over the past 48 hours in terms of statements by Hezbollah officials actually point out to the fact that this agreement will not in fact be sustainable as imagined by the mediator, which is the United States. And if this pause in fighting wants to have a chance of survival, there needs to be a very concerted effort by the international community to keep its eye on the ball and not repeat the mistakes of 2006, primarily sorry.
Oh, Salah, I was just going to say, if this is as tenuous as what you were saying, I guess this does not bode well for a ceasefire in Gaza.
I don't think. I think there's an overstating of the intrinsic relationship between a ceasefire in Lebanon and ceasefire in Gaza. The situation in Gaza has its own very difficult particularities and would need to be solved on its own. But at least vis-a-vis Lebanon, unless there's a concerted and holistic effort to support the Lebanese army, to ensure that the Lebanese government is standing by this deal, and to make sure that UNIFIL soldiers do not behave as hostages, but rather as sovereignty-enhancing peacekeepers. In addition to making sure that Iran wants to push Hezbollah to abide by this deal, there's very little chance that this deal will lead to a permanent situation of calm and stability here in Lebanon.